This
All right.
conference will now be recorded.
Okay.
Perfect.
Go for it, Phil.
Good. Okay, so I'd like to thank our sponsors, which are Bayer, Pfizer Oncology, Myovant Sciences, Janssen Division of Johnson & Johnson, Myriad Genetics, and Telix. This is the active surveillance group meeting, and for people who have not received treatment. For anyone previously treated or seeking treatment or seeking information about treatment, there are other AnCan groups better suited for such discussions, as we will not cover treatment in our discussions tonight. So I think Eric, I'll go around and I'll see who needs some time. So Ed in Virginia, do you need any time tonight?
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I'll take a few minutes.
Okay, good. I'll mark you down. Dan in Pensacola.
Yeah, just a minute for a quick update.
Dan, update. Okay, good. Bill, do you need anything tonight? You're muted.
I'm good. I'm just here to help out if I can.
Perfect. Thank you. Michael?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind giving a quick update, and then I kind of learned some information this week that I didn't know before that might help somebody in group.
Okay, good. I'll put you down. Bill in Virginia?
No time, thank you.
Okay. BJ?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Thank you. Gary? Yes.
Yes, a few minutes.
Okay. Eric, do you need are you going to say anything tonight, or?
Oh, I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Ray in Santa Monica? You're muted, Ray.
Yeah, no, I don't need any time. Thank you.
Okay, good. Alan in New York?
No, I'm good tonight, thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Bob?
Nope.
Nothing. Thank you. Dan? There are two Bobs, actually.
Dan in Virginia, I'm just going to listen tonight.
Okay, good. Bob, are you on twice, or?
Yeah, no, apparently.
Not a problem. Don't worry about it.
That is my brother.
Okay, good. No problem. Okay, so I think we may as well we've done that. So Gary, you're up. You want to tell us your story? How did you get to us?
Well, you're going to have to bear with me here. We have a hard time. I'm Ken Mason's husband, and he passed about 9 days ago. And I wanted to make sure this group knew that, and just, say hi to you all and let you know how much he meant to you. I mean, how much this group meant to him.
Okay, I'm sorry, Gary. You know, I didn't realize that you were Ken's partner. I know at last week's meeting, there were like numerous, people made numerous comments about Ken's passing. So we had learned about it, I guess, just before the meeting, and a number of people who knew Ken, spoke about, what a good guy he was and his contributions to AnCan. So, we were all really sorry to hear about his passing.
Yeah, and I didn't know what you might have heard or when, so I just wanted to make sure. But I also just personally wanted to thank this group for all the conversation and help and good times actually that you supplied to Mason.
Yeah, Rick, I don't know. Are you with us?
Yeah, I am, but my camera's doesn't seem to be working. So I'm going to go out and come back in again in 1 second. And then when you have a face, Mr. K, I'll be able to talk to you. I'd rather talk to you when you can see me than before you can see me. But I
Okay,
will
good.
be right back.
Okay, we'll hold on.
Okay.
Well,
But I would
if I
like
may,
Bill. Yeah, Bill has his hand up. No, I'm not going to
if I
go
may,
out.
Phil,
Speaking, I'll go out in a second.
some of you know
Bill,
me,
go
some of you
ahead.
don't. I'm Bill Franklin. I'm the president and board chair of AnCan. I don't spend as much time in groups as I used to. I've been associated with AnCan for over 10 years. And Gary, Ken was there, like, I can remember Ken like probably from the first meeting I was ever on. In my memory, that's where I first met him, right? But it might have been another meeting in the first few months. But he was on a lot of the meetings, and we were always we were in meetings together, and we chatted, we talked, and I got to know him. We did go to one conference together, and I got to know him a little bit better. But from AnCan again, I'll extend my sincerest condolences. As I know you've heard it from all of us, from a lot of us already. But Ken was a great guy, and I'll miss him dearly because I had, we have the chat window over here on this platform, and Ken and I would chat during meetings, just privately, so nobody knew what we were talking about. So we actually, I think Rick might know about this, but not a lot of people do. Ken and I ended up after a call just staying on and talking for quite a while, and I got to know a little bit more about him that night. That was a little bit over a year ago. And I'd known the guy for 9 years at the time, but just that time we chatted for quite a while, and we talked about a lot of family stuff. So I don't know if that cues you in on anything he would have talked about. Oh, we didn't discuss you. I'm sorry. We discussed his family.
Well,
my
that's
family and his family. But I mean, I knew about you. I've never met you, and I'm sorry that we haven't met in the past, but and that we had to meet under these circumstances. But he will be missed, and he was a great guy. So.
Well, I appreciate your kind words.
Yeah, I went out, came back in again, but I don't know what's going on with the camera. I have to get Miss Alexa to help me out with this one and see if I can figure it out. But Ken, you know how fond I was of Ken, and I think I think it's fair enough to say that the feeling was mutual because he insulted me so many times that I feel that he could only have done that if he had a great feeling for me. I know that many of the people, I mean, Phil knows Ken fairly well because he's been with us a long time. I'm not sure who else in the group really had the opportunity to interact with him. But one thing, I'm so pleased this is getting recorded because there are going to be a lot of people who listen in who will know Ken well. And for those of you who didn't know him that well, his trademark was that he always wanted time at the end to tell a lousy joke. And believe me, they were lousy. I think Gary would endorse that wholeheartedly. And as I said, hearing of Ken's demise was like one of his jokes. You didn't want to hear it, and that was Ken. God bless him. But he was so full of empathy and kindness and caring that we just loved him. And one of the things that came to me today was that if there was anything that was ever just under the surface or unspoken, or someone didn't want to touch on it, it was always Ken who schlepped it to the surface and made sure that we addressed what we needed to address. And we isn't that true, Bill? I mean,
that is definitely true.
Everybody was dancing around us. Everybody's dancing around the subject, and they don't want to call a spade a spade. And then nails it head on, and we get into a great discussion. And that really was so much, and he was so empathetic and so sensitive to people, and suggesting to he was a moderator himself, although more recently he didn't spend a lot of time moderating. But when we first started low intermediate, and we hadn't split out active surveillance yet, Ken was the moderator who was really there to cover all the active surveillance issues. So that goes back to, I don't know when. I think we started active surveillance even before we formed AnCan. And we started low moderate even before we formed AnCan. So, we go back such a long time. And then to meet him in person, and then I had the great pleasure of meeting Gary and Ken. Before I moved here in Mill Valley, they came over to dinner one night, and I think, I don't know if you saw that, but just last week I opened that bottle of balsamic that you bought me. It had been sitting there, and I opened it just before I lost Ken. So now I sliced up some tomatoes and put some on in Ken's honor today.
Very good.
And it's good balsamic, by the way. But yeah, I can't even begin to tell you how much we'll miss him as an entity and a spirit, and being part of who and what we are. And momentarily, I'm going to put the memorial site, which Gary and the family have created, with some fabulous pictures, and some people have paid some great tributes. And I'm going to put that in the chat window. I guess that, I'm just so sad. I keep writing to people who knew Ken, and I just say, I can't even imagine where you are, Gary, and God bless you for coming in. We are so happy that you're here. It's amazing.
Well, thank you, Rick. And what you were saying was also said in other ways by my niece, who described Ken as empathy, silliness, and love. And that hits it pretty right.
Yep.
And in addition to that, he was the purest soul I ever knew. He cared about fairness and justice, no matter what or for whom or how. If it was unjust, he felt it. If it was unfair, he felt it, and wanted that changed.
Yeah. And as I have written, and I added to it. Oh, Miss Alexa's coming just in time. Gary's on. Say hello to Gary.
Hi there.
Hey, Gary.
We're just talking about Ken, and Bill has spoken and I've spoken. I'm sure this is on the recording, so I'm sure you'd like to say a little bit about Ken.
Of course I would. So I knew Ken very well working here at AnCan. Ken was just so fantastic. And one of my favorite things is when I met Ken at PCRI last year for the first time in person. I saw him, we had a long hall towards our table, and I saw him at the very end of that hall. And I locked eyes with him, and I ran into his arms. It was like that movie on the beach. And he's like, well, slow down. I'm not worth running for. It was like just a scene from a movie, and we just hugged for a long time. It was a long overdue hug. And I'll also never forget, I asked him one time, I said, hey, how's your boxers doing? And he said, it's just not appropriate to ask someone about their underwear and dogs. He's like, yeah, my boxers, I was got my boxers. They're doing great. And so I just, how's your boxers doing? And Ken, always such a comedian, lit up the room. Just, I am so blessed that I got to be at the same time and space as Ken And I know Rick feels the same way, and he was so incredible to us at AnCan.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I do feel as Alexa, I'm having trouble with my camera. That's why you can't see me.
I
I'm gonna
do
have to.
see that you have transformed to a camera. I was going to ask about that. Is that a new radiation side effect or something?
I don't know. I think it might have something to do with linking my phone.
I would guess.
Yeah.
No, it's probably Mark from West Virginia. I took all the juice out of it because I'm on the cell phone. So don't forget me out here because I have a Mason too.
Well, I'm so glad you're with us, Mark. I know that you have you have memories. Take the microphone and talk about your memories of Mason.
13 years ago, when I got on active surveillance, it was on the telephone like tonight, and Mason said, "Oh, thank God, there's another guy on here now that is as crazy as I am." And we hooked up ever since then. And when he wasn't on the call way back then, I worried about him. And so I know I'm not going to do this at the end of the show because I want to do a Mason. I'm going to do a Mason right now. There was two guys sitting at a bar, and the doors opened, and three guys come walking in and sat at the bar. There was the three guys were a Protestant, a Catholic, and a Jew. And these two guys at the other end of the bar looked at him, and the Protestant says, "Oh, I've had a bad day at work." And Catholic says, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "Oh, I was at the hospital all day seeing all these sick people, and it just made me so sad. So I'm glad I'm hooked up with you guys." And then the Catholic priest says, "Oh, that wasn't a bad day." He says, "You know, I come to work and I ended up getting in a phone booth, and I sat there all day in a phone booth listening to everybody's problems. And I'm so glad I found you guys, and I was able to come and be with you guys for the night." Just then, the Jew goes, "Oh, you guys, that's nothing." He says, "I went to work. Somebody handed me this great big roll of paper. I walked around all day trying to figure out a place to put it. And this guy says, 'Oh, you can put it right down here.'" And so then the other two guys at the end of the bar started laughing. It was a big laugh. So one guy says, "Hey, Rick, tell them about your day." And Rick says, "Well, it was going good until I came into a bar and these three guys came in and started complaining. So, other than that, I've had a pretty good day." And then this Mason guy says, he says, "I'm going to ruin it for you, Rick." And Rick says, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, you think those three guys had a bad day, Rick? You're going to have a real bad day." And Rick says, what do you mean, Mason?" He says, "Well, you're going to buy the next round." And Mason laughed and says, "Yep, it's all on you, Rick." He says, "Pull your wallet out. We're all going to have a round on you."
That's a Mason.
Yep, that's a Mason.
That is a perfect Mason joke.
I was going to put in there the round of drinks where a shot of whiskey, big glass of wine, and a Shirley Temple. But you guys figure out who drank all that stuff.
Oh,
I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah. So for those of you who haven't heard one of those Mason jokes before, you can be very grateful because some of us have sat through a lot of them, and poor Gary has been living with them for the last 40 bloody years.
It's really funny. I would tell, because he would look them up before and he would practice some, and I would say, "Oh, for God's sakes, don't do that." And And I just thought, oh, some things that some things are just the cost of marriage or the cost of doing business. You got to go with it. And but I am finding out that we're talking, and so many people are talking so much about his awful jokes that it's turned out to be sweet and wonderful.
You definitely put a smile on our faces, even though we were shaking our heads going, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what I'm thinking is that when you come to have the celebration of his life, everybody has to come with at least one bad joke.
Yes. Absolutely.
And then there can be a microphone, and they'll be virtual too, and we'll all have to sit through. I think it would be great. I think everybody would get a great kick out of that.
We'll charge you with starting it off.
Okay. So I'm about to put Ken's. That was the other thing. He insisted on calling himself Mason.
I know.
He wanted to call himself Ken, and we wanted. No, it's Mason. Who's this? Mason. Mason. I'm Mason. So some of us still called him Ken. But most somebody said I didn't
right?
even know. Go ahead, Alexa.
Know why that was, right?
Why?
He said that because that was part of his joke that he was in the witness protection program and that he had warrants, that if he went by a different name, it was it was harder for the feds to get to him. And that was how he could do the support group, moderate, if he went by Mason.
That's because he was on the same witness protection plan as I was on. So, being a correctional officer, you wanted to hide amongst the crowd as I was. And I said, well, I'm sorry, Ken, there's already one guy on a witness protection. You're going to have to find some other place.
Oh boy. Well, I think you can see, Gary, that we really loved your man, your husband.
Yes.
We loved him dearly. And I think a lot of other people did. And when you read some of the things that have been written already and those pictures, there are some pictures that are just terrific. So.
And Rick, also how much we love Gary too, because there had been many a nights of AS moderator meetings of Ken just one after another, and it's going, how does Gary put up with this? And I remember looking at Gary when we were, having the charcuterie at PCRI, and I looked at Gary because Ken was, doing those jokes, and I'm like, Gary is one of the strongest men alive. He just is so incredible. He should be nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. Gary, we love you too. You supporting Ken gave us all so much love and support, so we really appreciate you as well.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Gary, we would never ever want you to deal with prostate cancer, but if you do, we will welcome you with open arms. And I just want to say you're much invited to the Care Partner group if we can help you. One other thing that you guys would be interested in about Ken that we haven't mentioned so far. Ken lived with 3 cancers. He had prostate cancer, bladder cancer, and kidney cancer. Thank God, all of them were relatively benign. And he had procedures for the bladder cancer. He had part of his kidney removed, but that handled all of it. It never went anywhere. But you can imagine from what the level of anxiety that he lived with. He showed anxiety, but it was never ever over his cancer. He just absorbed that health risk like water off a duck's back.
It's very true. That is very true. Except you could always tell whenever he was coming for a 3-month or 6-month checkup, about the week before he started getting anxious, like, the sword's hanging over my head. Is this going to be the checkup I don't want to hear? And but he was very, very lucky with all of that. And one of his proudest accomplishments in relation to that was the fact that the Veterans Administration denied his appeal for disability benefits based on those cancers, because some of you might know he was a military policeman and he was in Stuttgart for 4 years guarding bunkers that he didn't know what was in them. And being a policeman, they were in the motor pool a lot and they cleaned up with benzene. So he was exposed to cancer-causing agents a lot. And 6 years ago, he claimed, his claim for there is reasonable belief that 3 independent cancers in one person are caused by something else, not just the way things are. The VA denied that. He appealed it for 6 years. His most recent appearance before the judge was about a year ago, in which he said, "Look, I understand what you're doing. You're just waiting for me to die. You just want us. All of the people in this position are old and sick, and you're just waiting for us to die." And then we were notified this spring that a judge ruled in his favor on every count. He won his entire case. He won everything. And so the denial of benefits was reversed. And he was very proud of that.
Well, Gary, I think that entitles you to a bunch of benefits right now. Are you aware of that?
I wish bunch of were correct. I'm not sure bunch of, but you're right. I do get spousal benefits. Well,
one thing I would suggest to you, come in. When's our next veterans meeting, Alexa? It's the 15th, right? Right, it's the 15th.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come into the next veterans meeting, please, and talk to Jim Marshall and the guys there, because they are really aware of the spousal benefits, and they'll make sure you're getting everything you're entitled to. Bill, VA bill. No, Virginia bill. I shouldn't have said VA bill.
It's all the same, actually. So,
okay.
So Gary, if you were together at least 6 years after they've determined the cancer to have started, then you'll get full survivor benefits from his disability.
Well, I have not. The funeral home or crematorium has given me a link for veterans benefits that I haven't looked at yet because I just haven't gotten to it.
Okay.
But
Rick's right, because Jim will definitely help you through that process.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I would like to join that meeting and learn more about that. What day is that again, please?
It's next Tuesday.
15th.
15th.
15th, yes. And
7 p.m. Central.
Okay.
I would suggest, the link that they gave you, it will so confuse you. And even if they hook you up to a service officer, a voluntary service officer, a VSO, I would say that our guy, Jim Marshall, Captain Jim, is probably even better than anyone you'll find. And he will tell you, he will know. And you'll communicate with him by phone and email, and we'll hold your hand so you get all the benefits you're entitled to.
I really appreciate that. And can someone either put in the chat box or send me the link to that?
Gary, I will sign you up for reminders, so you'll get an email reminding you.
Right. And also, I put it in the response that I sent to you earlier today.
Yeah, I don't think the link, unless, oh, yes, you did. Yes, you did. Thank you.
Right.
You sure did.
It's there, but Alexa will also follow up to make sure that you've got it. You've got everything. And it's just, it's the guys who have attended here Yeah, I mean, Dan's attended. It's a really good solid group. Very technical. We also have a veteran speaking freely, which isn't so technical, but it's very technical, and we'll hold your hand. Isn't that right, Mr. President? So
that is correct. I was doing something else. I'm sorry. I was listening.
Okay.
But yes,
Okay.
veteran speaking freely is, it's like men speaking freely, but it's for our veterans. You're definitely welcome there as Ken's spouse. It's men and women. It's not just men speaking freely. It's veterans speaking freely. So, veterans, spouses of veterans, anybody's welcome.
Yeah, so we'll get you on that. And then the veterans group that we're talking about is the technical group.
Okay.
Where they start quoting alphabet soup to you and your head starts spinning.
But if they can help me, that's great.
We can help you. We can definitely, it would be our honor and a privilege to help you and to make sure that you get everything.
Good.
So, all right, guys, I think we probably should continue. Gary, you're very welcome to stay. You won't offend anybody if you leave, but we are so thankful that you arrived.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll stay on for a little while, but then we'll have to go probably around 8 o'clock my time.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you from West Virginia. See ya.
You've been out in the out. I hear you've been out camping in the wilds. Is that true?
Yeah. We came home yesterday. So
okay.
Yep. I was glad for your note today, and I'm glad that I was allowed to get on. So I'm gonna let you get back to business. Love you guys.
Okay. We love you too. Bye-bye.
We've had a few new people come on a little bit late, so let me just ask whether they need any time for an update, and then we'll go to Ed in Virginia. Ignacio, do you need any time tonight?
Not tonight. Thank you, Phil.
Okay, good. Gary?
All set. Sorry for joining late. Had to work.
Work comes first.
Had to be here.
You bet. And Michael in Denver? Michael, you're muted?
No, thanks.
Okay, good. Thanks very much. Okay, Ed, you
I've been watching my hemoglobin and hematocrit.
I'm gonna mute Michael because
borderline low.
getting some feedback.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, guys.
Okay, Ed, do you want to do your update?
Sure. Yeah, I'm one of those that had the blind biopsy done before the MRI. So I switched doctors, and about 3 months ago, just got the MRI results back this week, and it showed negative, no lesions found. But during the blind biopsy, 1 out of 12 cores came back Gleason 6, 25%. The radiologist made a comment saying with a low-grade cancer like that, the MRI most likely does not pick those up. So everything sounds pretty good. The only thing that concerns me is when I had the initial biopsy, genomics test was done, oncotype, and it came back very high. Came back with a 62, 0 out of 100. It came back at 62. So something just seems kind of out of sync to me. Everything is saying low grade, don't worry about it, active surveillance. But then the GPS score came back so high. Just doesn't seem like seems like a mismatch somewhere, and I'm not quite sure what my next step should be.
You got a second opinion on your biopsy?
Excuse me?
I'm sorry, did you get a second opinion on your biopsy slides?
The second doctor I'm with now, he's reviewed them. I did not send them off to the two doctors that we've talked about, because at the time I was told not to do that because since it was a blind biopsy, I should wait. It would do the MRI and then get one of those samples sent. But I don't think I'm going to get a focused biopsy because there was no lesions found. So I don't know if I should go back to the original biopsy now from 3 months ago and go ahead and get that slide sent.
Well, in any case, there was only one core out of the 12 samples that proved positive, right?
Yes.
Okay.
In the blind biopsy. Yeah.
In the blind, well, you know, it's a blind biopsy, but I mean, it's a standard, 12 core biopsy where they're doing, each quadrant and examining
Yes.
the quadrants. So, what did your doctor say in terms of going forward, in terms of how you ought to be monitored?
Well, the new doctor, he said to come back in 3 months, do another PSA test. My PSA came back at 4.8. I have a bit of BPH, so the density came back at 0.13, which I think is normal range.
Yeah, that's good.
So he said to come back in 3 months for another PSA test. And possibly 6 months after that, do another biopsy. Even though we don't have an MRI to go on, it would be basically be another blind biopsy. But he said we would target the zone that showed up the first time with the one core, that we would target that. So again, everything sounds good. It's just that genomics score that was extremely high that has me. Even the doctor said he's never seen one be that high for a Gleason 6.
Does anybody know, or do you know, Ed, if the GPS score is based on your biopsy cores?
It was based on that core from 3 months ago. Yes.
Got it. And your PSA trend has been doing what?
The trend is coming down. It was 5.9 about 2 months ago, and now last week it was 4.8.
So you've had two overall, two scores?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Rick, you had your hand up?
Yeah. Ed, I vaguely remember your situation from last time. Where are you being treated?
It's an NCI center. It's not a center of excellence. It's an NCI center in Richmond, Virginia.
Right. And it was sort of surprising last time. It struck me that they were even doing that. And I think what we talked about is getting a second opinion from Kristen Green at University of Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
And
exactly.
I would definitely do that because something isn't right. She's so good. And if she thinks that test, which test was it that you got?
Oncotype.
Oncotype. So if she thinks that oncotype is really strange, and she'll look at the MRIs too, I would. I distinctly remember now that you mentioned that you're in Richmond. I would go up to UVA and make that appointment with her and see where to go next. I mean, the other thing to do, for the sake of a couple $100, is to send those slides from the first one, since we don't see anything now, and see what either Dr. Zhao or Dr. Epstein, if they agree that it's a 3+3. And I would also let them know that sample gave off a high oncotype score. But I would definitely follow up with with an appointment with Dr. Green and tell her we sent you. And I think you'll relate to her, you'll like her, she'll hold your hand, and she'll navigate you to do the right thing.
Okay, I will do that. Yeah, the NCI center I'm using now is not the one that did the original blind biopsy. That was just
Okay.
a local urology office, and I've left them and I went to the NCI center in Richmond. So,
NCI centers are spotty. I mean, the one here in Tucson is not particularly good. I wouldn't recommend somebody to go here. I'd tell them to drive 2 hours and go up to Phoenix. So it really depends who's there and what they're known for. I mean, this center is known for some cancers and does some great work, but not for prostate.
And Rick, we had looked at that facility's urology team and we were not impressed.
Right. So that would be our recommendation. As soon as you can, get onto Dr. Green's books. And I mean, I don't think with the results that you've been seeing that you should feel pretty comfortable. It's easy for me to say, but I don't think you should feel a lot of anxiety because it's likely that whatever it is, we can treat it. And it may be nothing at all, but it's one of those situations where you really need somebody who we consider to be one of the top urologists in the country, and that's what we think of Dr. Green.
Okay, I see in the chat room the information. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I hope it was a 3T MRI.
It was 3T, yes.
Right. Good to hear.
With contrast, so.
That's another thing is you could get a second opinion on the MRI too. If you want, that's totally your call.
Well, Eric, if Ed goes to UVA, he's going to get a second reading of the MRI there.
Yeah.
I would hope so, yeah.
Yeah, so, and if you have somebody like Kirsten Green looking over it a second time, that would give me comfort for a second view of the MRI.
Okay. I appreciate it. I think that was all I had today.
Thanks, Ed. Please come back and let us know how it turns out.
Will do. Thanks.
Any other questions for us? Ed?
Anyone else want to chip in?
Or Ed, do you have any questions for us?
No.
Well, I just wanted to say, Ed, to summarize, if you go to Dr. Green, I think she's going to wrap everything up for you and really hold your hand, help you through this. And she's just fantastic. I know we have some other guys in here who have seen her and love her, and they drive quite a long way. You don't have to figure this out all by yourself. I think Dr. Green would just be fantastic to help you through this.
Okay, I showed Dan needs some time.
Yeah. Dan, you're muted.
Yeah.
And you have the
just
floor.
real quick, I got I did the color genetic test and came back negative. So good news on that. No modification, no changes, nothing necessary. I already passed that on to my kids, my spouse. So we're all in good shape. So thanks for the advice to go to the color. Wouldn't have known that without you guys.
Perfect.
Good to hear.
That's great.
Woohoo.
Michael? You said you...
Yes, I was going to give a little update. I had an MRI on Monday.
Hold on Michael, hold on 1 second. I just want to check with everybody that they know what we're talking about when we talk about the color test and where that comes from. Is there anybody who is lost and hasn't heard about this before?
Dan is
Dan, I have not heard about it.
Okay, so it is a test to determine if you carry an inherited mutation, which is important for determining your treatment, and also important if you have children or siblings. Because if you do carry an inherited mutation, there is a chance that there's a 50% chance you could pass that along. So there are several tests, but we recommend that you use PROMISE. And Eric just put the link in the chat window. That's a special link that ties back to us because we did a webinar with them some time ago. That is a clinical trial that is sponsored by University of Washington, Fred Hutchinson, and Johns Hopkins. And it is free. So if you qualify, which means that you have a prostate cancer diagnosis, that's all you need to qualify, they will send you a kit. It's a mouth swab. I've done it. You spit into a tube, you send it away, and then about 2 to 4 weeks later, they come back and they will tell you that whether you have any mutations. Now, as Eric points out, they're close to their 5,000 cutoff. Last time I looked, they were at about 4,700, or they're probably around 4,800 now. So if you want to participate in this test, it's better to do it sooner rather than later. You can get the same test, but it may not be covered, and you may have to pay for it. I will also say the color test is not the best of the tests. I think they're still using a 32 mutation panel. There are certain mutations that we're aware of, like NBN, which they don't cover, but it's close enough for government work. And so we would recommend it. Unfortunately, our Canadian friends cannot use it.
That's right.
We've tried. Sorry, Bill.
I know it's.
So,
and they have an office in Canada as well.
Oh, okay. Oh, color does? Yeah.
I believe so, in Vancouver.
Yeah, I guess that the IRB, the original approval they got for this trial, because this is a clinical trial.
Covered the States.
Yeah. I mean, they could have made it cover Canada, but they didn't.
It's very hard to get international lines with genetic studies. It's very hard.
Okay.
That's why.
So there you go.
Yeah, I didn't realize we had different genes, but what can you do?
Yeah, they only sell Levi's and they don't sell Lee's up in there. That's the difference.
Exactly.
Instead of helixes, it's maple leaves.
There you go. So, anybody have any questions for us on this test and color and the PROMISE test and genomic testing in general? Okay.
I'll make one comment, Rick. I took the test quite a while ago. I have no genetic markers for prostate cancer, but I have 5 brothers, and one of them does have prostate cancer, and he's never taken the genetic test. But the fact that I don't have any genetic markers, but I have a brother, we both have prostate cancer, right? That to me that seems strange. But he's in active surveillance. He'll never get on this call. I'm an outlier in my family. I'm one of the only guys that talks about his feelings or discusses things like this with other people.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to one of our moderators by email earlier today, and his brother's been diagnosed recently, and he has fairly advanced, serious cancer. His father died of prostate cancer. They don't carry a germline mutation that's identifiable, but there's clearly some sort of prostate cancer inherited mutation that we just don't know yet. We don't know what to look for. We'll figure it out. I mean, maybe not in our lifetimes, but they'll know what it is at some point, what connects the dots.
No, I'm in the same boat. My dad has prostate cancer and I have it, but I have no markers either.
Yeah.
And my father and my maternal grandfather both had prostate cancer. So go figure. So now we're straying away from Michael. So I think you were up, right, Michael? Is that it?
Yeah, we'll come back to Michael in 1 second, but I want to ask a question. How many people on the screen right now, you can put your hand up in the chat. I'm curious, how many people have a sibling or a father who had prostate cancer? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 out of 20. I mean, and do any of you carry an inherited, do any of you carry a germline? No. So there you go, Bill.
Yeah.
And real quick, Rick, I did the Gallery test, and I had no markers for no risk for any cancer, according to Gallery.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Williams, where are you? Where did you go? Where did you decide to go to? Did you go to the North Rim?
I went to Sedona, and I am in Camp Verde, Arizona, as we speak.
Okay.
And it is hotter than 80s. It is warm, I'm telling you.
It's a dry heat.
I lived in Saudi Arabia in the middle of the desert for 2 years, and this would give it a run for its money.
Wow. Yeah, I can't imagine. I can't imagine camping in Arizona in the summer.
Well, I got a good air conditioner, and I'm hooked up to electricity, and I've got a small camper, so it cools off quick. I was going to give an update and a couple of pieces of information that I've kind of learned this week. So I had an MRI Monday, and I'll have a repeat biopsy on Friday, and we'll do it over at Mayo Clinic, or have done the MRI over at Mayo Clinic in Phoenix, and follow up there Friday. But I learned a couple. Well, number one, I didn't have any astounding changes in my MRI. There's no extra capsular extension or anything like that. No sign of metastasis. My lesion is slightly larger than it was a year ago. Oddly enough, and I can't figure out why this would be possible beyond it's just different organizations and different calculations, they say that my prostate has shrunk by about 10 cc's, and I'm not on finasteride. So I different machines, different people. But as some of you may have heard me talk about before, I had bone cancer in 2019, and I have a left femur. Over 50% of it is prosthesis. It's metal. So this was actually a topic of discussion between Dr. John and I and a couple of other people. And I have only gotten a 1.5 Tesla MRI in the past. And if you look at my reports, it looks like that they were saying I could only have a 1.5 Tesla because of this amount of metal in my body. However, Mayo did a 3. They did a 3 Tesla MRI. In addition to that, and I don't know if anybody else has got this problem, but because I have all that hardware, and this is not a laughable thing, I'm really serious. At Huntsman, they were having me use what they call a rectal foil. So they put essentially a balloon in my rectum and inflated it to try to deflect that signal. And Mayo looked at me. I asked, were we going to have to do that? And they said, research has long since indicated that that is not useful and it does not help. And I cannot describe to you the discomfort that creates. A lot of times Gary is here and he talks about how much anxiety he has with an MRI. Well, when you got it at your head and your other end at the same time, you're really miserable in that machine. So they used what they called an abdominal coil just on the outside on me in the machine, which they said helped with that. And I still, when you read my report, there are some issues with the signal, and they discuss that not being as clear as they could be if I didn't have all that metal. But if anybody else is going and getting MRIs at their hospital and they're having to use a rectal coil, you need to talk to them, and they need to look at the research on that, because Mayo says it absolutely is not helpful, shouldn't be used.
Wasn't that only popular for the 1.5 Tesla machines?
Oh, I don't know.
I thought I read that somewhere.
They had me.
Yeah, with
But
a
see, if
3T
you read,
MRI, you don't get an endorectal coil. I've had two 3T MRIs and no coil.
read my previous MRI reports, they word it like I had to have a 1.5 only with all the metal. So as with other things, prostate cancer, it's very confusing, and there are contradictory opinions and thoughts.
I'm curious if it's such a potential issue with all the metal. Are you able to do a micro ultrasound as an alternative?
Oh, I don't think. I mean, I think a micro ultrasound would be fine. Mayo doesn't do the micro ultrasound. I plan that that's one of the first things I'll ask my urologist when I talk to them. Is, if they think that would be a benefit, and if they would refer me somewhere just to get that test, because I do like Dr. Frindle. I very much like him.
I can speak from experience on a micro ultrasound. I got to say, it's a heck of a lot more comfortable than an MRI.
I can imagine. Yes. I'm pretty blessed. I don't have claustrophobia particularly. I can tolerate it pretty good. I'm pretty lucky there.
Except for the endorectal coil, which is
that was miserable.
for sure. God, that sounds.
Michael, I'll post some stuff in the chat for you that you can maybe share with your doctor, because one's the trial results too.
Yeah.
Well, I know Rick and I discussed this in a meeting just a week or two ago, and he had researched, and he said, well, yeah, they definitely don't show where they're offering it. Exact View Imaging, that's who does the micro ultrasound.
Yeah.
Where they're offering it at Mayo, because they're so modern and so on the ball. You would have thought that they would. And it's, from doing ultrasounds myself, I mean, there's a learning curve there. So they have to, one or two or guys or whatever have to go and learn. And, I'm going to say do 30 of them before they get proficient, but.
Absolutely. But it's an alternative that you could talk to your doctor about and just go from there. Especially if you're trying to bring it up. Yeah, especially if you're trying to get more information without doing another biopsy.
But big thing, I wanted people to know that, about the coil and the 3 teeth, because there were some other guys that have metal in their body, and somebody had some type of device implanted, and they said they were having to get a 1.5 because of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So, Michael, just tell me again, if we're going to use a 3T for somebody who has a lot of metal in their body, are there any precautions or anything we should be asking for?
In my case, no, but I'm going to say it might depend a little bit on how old your metal is. You know, the metals that they've used for a number of years, I don't think there's any precautions in the MRI machine. But, you know, for instance, in the veterans group, you might have guys who had war wounds in the Vietnam War. They might have been using something different then.
Yeah.
Probably how ferrous it is and the magnets and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, very helpful. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? I guess I can share my Onco Biomix results.
Oh, yes.
Well, I had a microbiome report through I guess it was a trial?
Yes, it was.
Volunteers.
Yeah, with Dr. Liss.
And my gut health is good. They want me to increase my prebiotic fibers from oats, garlic, onions, and asparagus, which I eat a lot of anyway, so it seems kind of weird. Reduce my intake of refined sugars, of course. Is that you? Oh, that was Bill. Okay, thank you, Bill. Reduce the intake of refined sugars. Consider adding more fermented vegetables or kefir to promote microbial variety. And then, of course, aim for a diet rich in polyphenols, berries, green tea, cocoa, the lower pro-inflammatory species. And I do most of those. I don't do much of the fermented vegetables, but that's what they measured on that given day of my bowels. So there you go.
I guess wine doesn't apply to that.
Yeah.
I said, I guess wine won't fill in that void for fermented vegetables.
Or polyphenols. Red wine is supposed to be full of polyphenol.
Yeah.
But then there's the alcohol angle as well.
You know, I have to tell you, Eric, I just got the word that there's some really good asparagus running around in Palestine, Texas. I found that out earlier on today. Would you like to enlighten us on that, Miss Alexa?
I would. We had asparagus tonight, and everyone who had it said it was so good. Brian's fantastic at making asparagus. He's just so great at it. I don't know his secret.
Does he grill it or how does he cook it?
He cooks it in a pan. He doesn't even do that much to it.
So it's baked?
Yeah.
All you have to do is
like
steam
in
it.
a skillet.
Okay. And I have to smell my own pee, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah. That doesn't happen to everybody.
I know, isn't that weird?
Right,
Yeah.
that's genetic.
Right. Well, I have that gene. Yay.
Me too.
Has anybody ever had the experience of eating a white asparagus in Germany?
Yes.
I think they call it Spargel. They have an entire festival around it.
Yeah.
When I was over there, it's like a week long. You can go to different cities and get different recipes, and so it's white asparagus. But I just think the different recipes are what makes it versus it being the white asparagus itself. So.
Yeah.
So I read a really interesting article today, and I'm going to put it in the chat window, about the connection between chronic pain and gut microbiomes. And it now appears, this is an easy to read article. It's a fairly long let me just, so that we know when we post it, I'm just putting in chronic pain, and gut. So let me just, everyone, there you go. So you can all click on that, read it later. But more and more, they seem to think that for certain conditions like neuropathy and fibromyalgia, that there is a definite connection between your gut microbiomes and the pain. Now, what it doesn't say, because I looked, is what you're supposed to eat and what you're not supposed to eat. I didn't really see that yet, although I read it quickly and I might have missed it. Miss Alexa will check on me for that. We'll check it out and she'll let me know. But yes, because we've sort of been focused on gut microbiomes from the standpoint of prostate cancer, and Dr. Liss's study, which some of you remember. I'll put the or Alexa, would you put the webinar from Dr. Liss in the chat windows for those of people who didn't hear? But it was a few weeks ago, and he was doing a study looking for men on active surveillance, which is how Eric got this report, no charge. And some of you still may be interested in checking out your own gut microbiomes. But I hadn't heard of course, it has to affect a lot of things, but hadn't heard about chronic pain until today. So, so there you go. Read it out. Read it. Somebody has their hand up, or they did for a second. Yes, I think it was Ray.
Ray.
As long as we're talking about microbiomes, and I'm not trying to change the purpose of this of this call, but my daughter has some stomach issues, and she saw a gastro guy today, and I said to her, I asked him about getting your gut microbiome tested, and he told her he didn't think it was necessary. The test really isn't FDA approved. It sounded like it sounded like a little bit of BS to me, why he didn't want her to do it. But I just wanted to get the groups in your opinion on anything about gut microbiome. Could he be on to? So obviously it's much different for prostate cancer, but he seemed to be saying this in general, which I was kind of surprised about. So just wanted to get people's opinions on it, as long as we're talking about it.
Yeah, Eric, why don't you take that, since you've done the test and you've done some research?
I mean, he's not half wrong in the sense that it's not FDA approved, but it does give you insight of what's going on gastro-wise on your body and how certain foods might be affecting chronic pain or chronic diseases like cancer. So I would think that more information is better than not having that information. So why he's dismissing it, I couldn't tell you why, but I would say go for
it. That's kind of that was my thinking too, but I was surprised to hear it, so I'm glad that's your thinking too. It can't, I don't think it can hurt, and might help. So
if you have like a big flare up of something because you're eating X, Y, or Z, and that might be causing things to be eliminated and then back to normal over a few weeks. Possibly.
Ray, I definitely would click on that bottom link that Eric put in. That'll take you to our information on Michael Liss, Dr. Liss, who's at UCSD. He's a very reputable urologist. He's doing a lot of work in this area of microbiomes, and he gave us a slideshow of about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and then took questions, and it'll answer a lot for you. You may even want to send that on to this doctor and say, yeah, why don't you listen to you might find this presentation from Dr. Liss interesting. even though it's focused at patients. You know, Liz is very approachable. So if this doctor has questions this is how we turn their heads. You know, it's a problem in the sense that I'm curious, how old was this gastroenterologist that you saw today?
I know this was my daughter saw him in New York.
Yeah, I mean your daughter. I'm sorry.
I am guessing maybe in his 30s or something. I think we looked him up. So I'm guessing, but I'm not exactly sure. I could ask her and find out.
No, it doesn't matter. I'm just you see, this is new science.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's not covered at med school, and it's fringe, which it clearly is,
mm-hmm.
then till it becomes established, not all the doctors are going to endorse it. And that's really the problem that you're faced with. So anything we can do to help establish the credibility, and I do feel that somebody like Michael Liss is a good spokesman for microbiomes. I mean, for goodness sake, he's a urological oncologist, and he's spending a lot of his research time looking at microbiomes and how they impact on if there's a connection with prostate cancer. I mean,
Rick, I was going to ask you, would he be a good person? I'm in Santa Monica, so I'm about 2 hours away from San Diego when traffic's not bad. Would he be a good person for me? Because I've been doing everything nutritionally. I've gone full vegan. I've given up alcohol, and I've lowered my PSA considerably. So
because he's very empathetic to that. Okay. I mean, you know, watch him. You'll see if you like him.
Yeah.
But yes, would he be a good guy to quarterback you? He'd be an excellent guy because he's really tied into it.
Okay.
You know, I mean, some of you have heard this before, and some of you Eric was on that webinar. I think Ignacio was on that webinar. But you know, his philosophy is you need to eat 30 different vegetables a week, which ain't easy. Which ain't easy. I just want to tell you, because I've tried it. Miss Alexa has tried it, and I got a list somewhere. I don't know what happened to my list, but I have a list somewhere, and I didn't really I didn't get too close. No, I got to 32 or 33. I don't know. Maybe it was 35 vegetables a week, and I got to 33. But it ain't easy. So I'm just saying. And yes, he would be very good. You know, the secret is, look, you're in. Did you say, where are you? Santa Monica, you said? Yeah. You're in Santa Monica. So you know you're 2 minutes to 4:05. If you go down at 11 o'clock, if you can be back in your car by about 3, you got a chance of missing the traffic both ways. So,
yeah, if I was you, I would even ask him if he recommends a gastroenterologist in your area that is friendly to gut microbiome testing to help you.
My daughter's in New York, but but yeah, I can find someone. She'd gone to an urgent care and they had recommended him. So he ran some tests. So we'll see what those show. But I'm going to encourage her to maybe find someone who is microbiome friendly, because I've read a lot about it, and just because the FDA hasn't approved it yet or whatever, I don't think is necessarily a good or bad reason not to. I mean, it's one thing if it's an off-label drug use or something, that's different. But to get a test, doesn't make a lot of sense.
Pretty benign test.
It can't do harm, so there's no point in not testing and seeing.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in real quick before people start dropping off that if you want to save any of these links, go ahead and click on them now, and they'll open up in your browser, and then you can just leave your browser open. Or
download the chat.
Download the chat by clicking on the 3 vertical or 4 vertical dots And you can download the chat message and save it to your desktop as well.
Yeah. So
before people go, I have a question for Rick, an extremely important question. By any chance, by any chance, are we Chelsea fans?
By any chance, we're not Chelsea fans, and I have gotten through most of the game, but not all of it. But so you can't tell me the final score, but I did 40 minutes on the rowing machine and watched most of the game, and I plan to watch the balance. But no, we're not. But I will say those two João Pedro goals that I saw were terrific goals. They were terrific goals. They really were good. I see you enjoyed the game. It looked like a good game.
It
did look like a good.
So all the best on Sunday. I hope I didn't give anything away there.
No, I don't know who they're playing, so you know.
Oh no! I'm not going to say that. But all the best.
No. Okay. All right, we're talking about the Club World Cup, which is a bit bogus anyway. Which is a bit bogus. But
I think
you see,
we could end the recording.
Yeah.
I will say this, that our Argentinian contingent here was very happy to see the Brazilian team get beaten. That's what I'm thinking. How did the Argentinian team do?
I agree with the bogus comment more than that. You know, it's like a Club World Cup. Who really cares? But still.
Who cares? Exactly. The only thing I get, for me, it's at least it's good to watch. At least it's something to watch when I'm on the rowing machine.